Switched on IT is proudly brought to you by Computer Troubleshooters Toowoomba West and Oz Hosting, Cloud Made Easy.
Welcome to Switched on IT. This is Barry. You are watching the show where we talk about everything IT. Video has become a really important part of the marketing strategy for businesses, especially those businesses that have, during the COVID-19 pandemic, have been switching to more online presence. Video is a really good way to get your message out to people because we know from statistics that people like to watch video, and of course search engines really like video as well. So today in this session, Doug and Ray are going to talk about two things. First of all, we're going to talk about video SEO. So video search engine optimization. How do you get your video out so that people can find it, so that they can see what you're posting? And the other thing is video hosting. So where do you put your video? Do you put it on your website? Do you put it on YouTube? Do you put it on Facebook? Where are the best places for you to host your video? So Doug and Ray are with us today. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hi there.
Thanks, Barry. G'day.
Hi. Now, Ray, tell us a little bit about SEO for video.
Yeah, so we can traditionally think about search engine optimization as a way to court new visitors to your website through the use of search engines. Search engines have been with us since the very beginning of the internet and really the beginning of the World Wide Web, and being able to index in some way, shape, or form or catalog pages that exist out there on the World Wide Web, publicly available pages on the internet. And what we want to be able to do is to be able to structure both the back-end server files as well as the front-end way in which we structure web pages so that we can attract the search engines to displaying our content above others and therefore being able to be found. And so this really starts off with really thinking about the types of video content that we create. And so, Doug, in your seeing folks come to you for hosting and setting up their websites, what do people typically want to create in terms of types of video content for their web presence?
Ray, it really varies. It's as varied as there are types of businesses that are out there. But I think one of the key things about all this is that the level of utilization of video content is still considerably less than it needs to be. But in terms of the use cases, there is just so many different things that people can use video for. It is a terrific tool for providing how-to information to customers, how to use your products more effectively. If they're sort of IT-related products, it can be configuration information. If it's physical products, it's how to use them, whether it's a hardware tool from from a hardware store or something like that. People just tend to really enjoy video, and I think we know. Just in terms of people gaining information, YouTube has become an incredibly important catalogue in the repertoire of so many people using it as an educational source, whether it's how to configure something on your PC, or it's information about online courses that people are doing. There is an enormous catalogue of very useful information in video. So, fundamentally, we know that people love to use video, and we know that most businesses have got a use case if they really think about it. But I would say every business, if they sat down and they thought about it, they could look at their business and they could say, yes, there is a real opportunity for us to create some useful and compelling content. We just need to do it. So I guess, in a sense, that leads us to another question, which is, the smart business operator has decided that he wants to use video content on his website. I guess the first question is, what are the different tools? What are the different hardware devices? What are the best ways to create video content for an SMB without hiring a videographer at $1,000 or $2,000 a day?
Yeah, I think that we have to consider really whether it's going to be long form or short form video content as to what type of device you're going to be recording. I wouldn't want to hold up a phone and record a long video, with an arm held out at arm's distance for say 30 minutes or an hour. At that point, you're going to really need a tripod to be able to hold up the phone, and so on and so forth. It also depends on whether you are live streaming that video or whether you're recording it in a closed environment. But generally, for me, if I'm doing a closed video recording, meaning that I'm not doing it live on YouTube Live or elsewhere, and I'm just recording it myself, I'm using a webcam that's an HD webcam on my computer, set up, and usually not the built-in webcam in a laptop or otherwise, because they're just not going to provide me with the amount of high definition quality that I'm looking for. And it usually has a pretty good microphone in it. I use a separate microphone. I have a different microphone that's actually right here, and it just gives me a higher quality audio. But either way, just an attached webcam is usually good for you. And then I use the combination of two tools. It's Lumen Zoom. So Loom, Loom, is a screen recording tool. And what that allows me to be able to do is to actually record both my screen, and it puts a little tiny video in the corner of, let's see, there we go. A little tiny corner in the corner is a little circle of my face, and I can move that circle around the screen, and so you can see me, but predominantly what you're seeing on screen is actually my desktop screen. And so I can show things on desktop. It could be a PowerPoint presentation or Google Slides presentation, usually in my case, and so you're able to actually present with that little movable circular video, which then means that if some part of your presentation is pertinent and you are covering it, you can move it so that you can move it out of the way, so you can reveal the part of the video that's important to be pointing out. And so Loom is one tool. The other tool is Zoom. And while most people know Zoom as a recording, as a meeting tool, a video meeting tool, it actually has a really robust recording capability built into it, where you can record yourself as well as recording your screen and your video, either side by side or the video in the corner, top right corner of the screen. So you can set it up to do all kinds of really robust recording types of things. You can record with others. So say, for example, you're doing an interview with someone, you can record that interview in Zoom and really have a robust recording environment for just everyday things. And in both cases, Loom and Zoom, for the vast majority of us, is going to be a free usage. You're not going to need to pay for Loom or Zoom. If it's just one-to-one,
Okay.
it doesn't really need it.
Right, and presumably, would you include Teams in that as well? Because I know that's got some, you can record meetings, and if you're screen sharing, I presume you can record the screen sharing as well. But I've never actually checked out what the definition, whether it's a high definition, recording, or it's a bit on the low side. So what's your sense of Teams?
Like with any other of the video meeting technologies, the robustness of your broadband connection to the server is likely going to be the quality of the recording. That is the case actually with Zoom for the most part. If you have a strong broadband connection, then you're going to, with someone else, this is only with someone else, you're going to have a pretty strong recording. I don't actually know if you can have a Microsoft Teams meeting with yourself and just record it. I presume you could. I've just never tried it. But for me, I just basically open up a Zoom meeting and record it locally for myself, meaning that there's nobody else in the meeting with me. It's just me, and I'm recording in it, and it gives me a pristine recording because I'm recording locally, so it's not being recorded OTA over the air, and so it's just recording natively. So presumably a Microsoft Teams session, if you're using the application on your desktop as opposed to the browser-based version, you should be able to record it in the same way that Zoom does as well.
Okay. And then the next question is with Loom, is that when you use Loom, because Loom you have to download as an application to your PC or to your Mac. So when you're using Loom, is that also a local recording and therefore a high quality recording that is subsequently uploaded, or is it affected by your quality of your ISP connection as well?
So that is locally recording if you're using the desktop application. If you're using the Chrome extension, my understanding is it's also locally recording, but it's uploading it as well. Both scenarios, they are also uploading to the Loom website. And so if you have the free plan, it's gonna download that in standard definition. So again, good broadband is not going to, or bad broadband is not necessarily going to matter here because it's recording locally, but in the back end, it is uploading it to the Loom servers, and you do have to download it from the Loom server. I actually haven't seen whether or not you can just automatically keep it on your, download it and keep it on your local system. I think it forces it into the Loom system because they want you to pay. And so that's a standard definition 720p download. You can upgrade to the premium service, and then you can download that version in HD. There is a free open source software, just in case anybody is interested, called ShareX, 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 and that does allow for screen recordings and with audio, so you can set it up to both record audio and video screens, and but that doesn't give the same flavor as Loom does because it's that little tiny cute circular video that you can move around on screen. I just happen to like it for it just seems nice and yeah, it's cute. What are you gonna do? But ShareX is free. It's open source. You can use it, and if you're just trying to do a screen recording with your voice over it, go for it.
Okay. And I think, we've certainly used Loom at Oz Hosting for quickly providing customers with how-to information. And typically we don't use the little, the little circle with the talking head. We just provide an image of their screen, their Oz Hosting account, and, how to do whatever task it is that they're attempting to do. But it's an incredibly useful tool in that sense that you can spend sort of 60 or 90 seconds doing something on screen, whereas if you had a customer on the phone and you were trying to talk them through something, and of course they click in the wrong place and they get lost and they end up on a different screen, or you've got to have log me in for that particular person, and then they've got to have passwords. Getting them off the phone and sending them a Loom video is quite an easy approach to do. Obviously, doing that is getting a little bit away from the topic of discussion because we're talking about now using video content and using it for your business, but it obviously does nothing for your SEO when you send somebody a link which is very specific to their requirements. So stepping beyond that kind of use case, we're really talking about platforms where the video is hosted on the platform of another entity, being Loom or being Zoom or YouTube, Vimeo, or somewhere else. So what are the sort of the pros and cons, the advantages and the disadvantages of these different platforms that we've got available to actually house our video content, and should we be considering actually downloading the video file and actually hosting it on our own shared hosting platform or our own virtual private server, if that's what we're using for our website? What are the, where do you see that going? What do you see as the most, useful option for most SMBs?
Yeah, so without a very specific reasoning, and you can feel free to email Barry and ask your specific questions. The vast majority of everybody watching right now will be using a file hosting service that is not on their own website, even if you have a VPS and you feel like you have the robustness to be able to upload it yourself, it's likely not worth it. There's just so much associated with hosting and serving video well. It's just not worth it. That being the case, if you're then going to go and host otherwise, and we'll talk about some of the hosting services that are out there, from an SEO perspective, the impact of self-hosting versus hosting on another service and then embedding it on your website is minimal, and so it's not particularly, it's really de minimis to the search engines. So I don't think it's really worth hosting your own. Just because you can increase load speeds so much more if you are not trying to upload and host your own video in that sense. So with that being the case, we're really more concerned about the content of the video. That is, what's the video content itself in terms of images as well as the audio associated with it. That is the first level of SEO that we can think about for both search engines, but also platforms like social networks. And so if you think about it from this perspective, most of the major social networks, as well as the major search engines like Google and Bing and so on and so forth, what they're doing is they are kind of ripping your video apart to look at its various components, the metadata associated with it, the file name, those types of pieces of the content, each still of each image, right? So your video is comprised of frames and typically rendered at some number of frames per second, and that's what makes the video happen, right? So it's basically capturing lots and lots of still images and then putting them together and rendering them quick enough so that your eyes actually see motion. Well, each of those images are being looked at for text, and they're being looked at for content that they're analyzing. So they're basically doing optical character recognition for text on screen, but they're also doing data analysis on the images that are on screen using machine learning and other types of artificial intelligence algorithms to be able to identify what's in the video. So, for example, a video on YouTube, I'm pretty sure YouTube, that is Google, which owns YouTube, knows that when a video of me goes online, I bet you they know it's me. And that's because there's so much video of me on YouTube, and so much of my life lives inside of Google, my Google account, and so on and so forth, with family videos and so on and so forth. I bet you at some point YouTube will be able to say, hey, I think this video has Ray Sidney Smith in it, just by virtue of the fact that my voice and my image is being propagated into the network. So from a search engine perspective, that's really good if you're trying to promote your business and you are the business and the personality behind the business. But also remember that the words on screen and the words that you are saying. So, for example, if I say Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, well, guess what? Those words were just picked up by the YouTube algorithm, and they will transcribe the text. They'll provide that in a light form in their closed captioning, but they're doing that closed captioning not just for an accessibility perspective. They are also doing it because they want to know what I'm talking about in the video to be able to show that to people in an appropriate way in the Google search engine. So what you say in the video is actually just as important as what is seen in the video in terms of the imagery. So all of these pieces kind of come together, and that's baked into the video itself, right? That's the actual video content. Then we flip it over to the other side, which is when we talk about on-page SEO. What stuff, when you embed that video on a particular web page, then we have to consider all of the other on-page SEO elements that are traditionally considered when we talk about SEO. And we won't get into that too much in today's episode, but just know that the titles and the links on the page and the keyword indexing that happens on a particular page for SEO purposes is really going to be tantamount to that video now being found, not just on the place in which it's hosted, but inside and on the search engines that are indexing those web pages. What's most important is that the web page sees there's a video embedded and that you have keyword optimized that page about that video. So you're describing what the video is about on the page in which you are embedding it. And that's what's really going to elevate your page, because it has this rich media, the video, embedded on the page, and you have optimized that page around a keyword or key phrase that's really important to website searchers, to people who are searching the search engines. With that, were there any other pieces that you wanted to talk about, Doug? I wanted to talk about a new component that YouTube has, but I want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Well, I think at the moment, let's just jump to a break, and then we'll come back and we will talk a little bit more about the optimization process, and we'll also talk about the process of actually getting your content onto whatever hosting platform it is that you're choosing to run your content on your website.
When the going gets tough, advertising is a must. Thousands of potential customers make buying decisions every day based on advertising they've seen or heard on radio and television. Are you losing sales because potential customers don't know what you offer? Get your business, product or service in front of thousands of potential customers with a joint advertising package on Power FM and PTV Channel O. Capture a multimedia audience with our affordable radio, TV media advertising package. Stay ahead of the pack by contacting Barry on 0431 390 920 or email feedback@ptvchannelo.com or Jeff at powerfmtoowoomba@gmail.com.
Is your computer driving you crazy? Is it slow or doing things you didn't expect? Well, having a computer crash or pick up a virus can be a complete nightmare for a business, so having someone local you can trust to get you up and running again is critical. The dedicated team of experts at Computer Troubleshooters Toowoomba West will put your mind at ease from the moment you walk through the door and will get your problem solved in no time with a 100% guarantee on their work. Laptops, tablets, PCs, whatever you have, Roger and the team can fix it for you. So visit them today at 236 Bridge Street, Newtown. Can't get in to see them? No worries. Just call them on 4642 1331 and they'll come to you. Toowoomba Troubleshooters Toowoomba West on the web at www.computertroubleshooters.com.au/Toowoomba West.
Power FM is total entertainment. From the morning drive with Fiona and Jeff to the drive home with Jeff Black. On the weekends, catch the Crazy Kevin Show, Dennis Mitchell's Breakfast with the Beatles, the Semi-Pro Sports Show, and Racing Nation with James O'Shea, plus the music you grew up with. Keep your radio dial locked on Toowoomba's Power FM, celebrating 10 years. You'll find us at 88.0 on the FM dial or online at www.powerfmradio.com.au.
That was a great summary, Ray. I think now if we were putting ourselves in the shoes of a small business, an SMB owner-operator, it's obviously very compelling to start creating video content and making that accessible to your customers. So having created the content and whether whatever tool I might have used to create that content with, what is the process that I now go through to get it actually being displayed on my website? Because we were talking about, am I going to serve it in a frame on YouTube or am I going to use some other service? So if I've actually created the video content using something such as Loom, as we were talking about earlier, but I would like to have that video content on my website and have it hosted on YouTube, what is the process that I need to go through to achieve that outcome? And having done that, what happens next?
Yeah, I think what you need to consider is the usage of that video and where you want that video to be found. Part of it is distribution. The other part is promotion. And so you need to think about that in the full marketing strategy, right? The full life cycle of the business model. And so, for example, we can think about YouTube as two different fundamental pieces with video hosting at its core. So YouTube is a search engine. So people don't realize this, but YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. It happens to be a video search engine, and it's owned by Google, the largest search engine in the world that keeps its status as the largest search engine in the world because it owns YouTube. Then secondarily, YouTube is also a social network. It's a video social network, but at its core, it is social. And so this is a type of social media, right? The video you're uploading is meant to be social. And so if you are considering YouTube for uploading your video to it, you're doing it because you want other people to find it and to engage with that content in some way, shape, or form. So that's kind of like one use case, and then we can think about the unlimited number of reasons why people would choose those things. So many times I sit down with businesses and we actually end up debating which and where and how we host based on the usage and where we want those videos to be seen. So if you're a documentarian, video documentarian, well, you're not going to upload your videos to necessarily YouTube for sharing with your constituents and with your peers. You're likely going to upload that to Vimeo. You're more likely going to upload that a trailer to YouTube though, to let people know about it, because you're getting distribution and promotion on that side, but the video itself is going to live on Vimeo because there's a kind of a sense of culture and prestige associated with that platform for kind of creators or artists, right? So we have to think about your industry and what you're trying to do to be able to do that. I will note that YouTube just recently added, from just an SEO perspective, a new feature on its platform called YouTube Chapters. And what YouTube Chapters are is it allows you to be able to do identify specific clips in a video based on a time signature, and allows you to put text associated with that particular clip. They're called chapters, and it's really easy to do. If you're the uploader of that video, you'll then see a section within the YouTube Studio, the YouTube Creator Studio, to be able to do that. This is already actually happening to some extent on YouTube and in Google. If you've ever done a search for a specific topic and a video surfaced and it said, hey, this clip we think would answer your question, that's in essence Google guessing at a chapter, basically guessing at a screen clip, at a video clip that will be useful to people. Chapters are a way in which for you to actually increase the SEO of that video by placing those keyword optimized text elements directly into the YouTube video. So it is something that I think is phenomenal, and everyone should be taking advantage of it if they are marketing particular products and services. And that means that long form video is now much more readily available to people, because people think, oh, people have short attention spans, they don't want to watch long videos. Well, what if your topic, what if the product or service you're providing is nuanced and you want to be able to do a long form video? Chapters gives you the ability to have a long form video with these smaller chunks outlined within the video itself, so that someone who is looking for a specific topic can jump to it. But if somebody who wants to watch the whole video and access the whole long, nuanced conversation can go ahead and do that. So that's that piece to it. But there are a wide variety of other hosting platforms out there, Doug. What are some of the other hosting platforms that you know about, that you've heard about, and maybe we can field any questions that we have about them?
Well, I think there's, we've spoken about Vimeo and YouTube. Loom itself is also able to be used as a platform. I think you could even put your commercial videos on Facebook, on your Facebook page, and getting a little bit more, I guess, enterprise grade. You could use Cloudflare Stream to host your video. So they've all got their different pros and cons. Certainly, I would think that YouTube's got a lot of advantages from an SEO standpoint. But what's your take on, for example, the Cloudflare Stream versus for example, Facebook? Why would I choose one over the other?
Yeah, it depends on the type of content again, right? So if you are uploading content that you think could be potentially socially or politically incendiary, and you don't want to have to deal with people flagging your content as inappropriate, even if it's not inappropriate. You could just be in an industry that somebody else doesn't like, and they can come after you by consistently reporting your videos. That's where something like Cloudflare's Stream service, which is an affordable, developer-friendly, more developer-focused file streaming service. But there's Wistia and Brightcove and many other platforms, Dailymotion, Sprout Video, that allow you to upload your own video content, and you don't have to worry about some social censor that's out there telling you what video you can and cannot upload. In the sense of Facebook, you're dealing with Facebook's terms of service, where Facebook says you can embed things, where they say you can't, and then of course everybody on Facebook. There's over 2 billion monthly active users on Facebook who are logging in and looking at content. And while that's many eyeballs, that also means that's lots of opinions that can tell you whether or not your video can be on there. So those are really the decisions you make. And then of course, remember that the places you already are may determine whether or not you're going to use those things. So for example, I'm a big fan of WordPress, and WordPress is two different things, right? It's the open source platform, but there's also a company behind it, Automatic, and they actually have a bunch of products and services that they provide for WordPress. That is WordPress.org, the open source software, the blog CMS. And so my website runs on WordPress, the software, and I host it. And Automatic, though, they have this product called Jetpack. And you can get Jetpack for free, and it adds all of these wonderful features to WordPress. But you can also pay for certain services within Jetpack, and one of those is Jetpack's video hosting. So if you have a WordPress website and you're looking to do video and hosting the video, you can do that right directly from the Jetpack video hosting service. It's pretty inexpensive, and there you go. So you have all of these different options. The same thing with Wix or Squarespace websites, where you have a platform that is handling your website. It's a website builder. Well, they do video hosting, so you should probably just use the service that you're using if they're capable of doing that. I would just test to make sure that the types of video hosting they're doing and the streaming that they're doing is solid, so that when you upload video there, is it going to actually be able to render and stream the video well for you? Just test it. Pull it up on your mobile phone, pull it up on your desktop, check it on occasion, ask some friends and colleagues to check it out, just to make sure that the video streaming service for the website builder that you're using is robust enough to be able to handle what you're looking for, and it's catering to your needs. So all of these various hosting services are available, and again, the hosting really doesn't matter except to the perspective of quality and performance. What really matters here is making sure that you are on page optimizing the video on those pages in which you're embedding.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about the optimizing process. I guess there's a lot of metadata. You were referring earlier to the fact that for example, if we chose to host the video on YouTube has some analytics which will track and identify the copy that we're using, and you can also use chapters. So what are the quick fix things, if you like, or the checklist elements that you would consider in optimizing video content, and how does that vary depending on whereabouts it's hosted?
Yeah, so it's all very dependent upon the hosting platform. So if I were producing video for just YouTube, then I would choose to make sure that every field on YouTube's upload process was optimized for people to find it. So even innocuous settings like what language is this video in needs to be looked at, and make sure that you're checking your boxes. You're crossing your T's and you're dotting your I's. But most important, I guess, if you're not particularly detail oriented and you're not filling out every field and making sure that you're checking every box, at the very least, when you upload a video, you have a video title and a video description. In those two fields, you have the option of being able to make sure they are keyword optimized or key phrase optimized. So what is your video about? Make sure that that's what someone is looking for when they're on YouTube. What is someone searching for? And that's more natural language than, some stiff upper lip kind of title of a video. You want it to be, what is someone going to type into YouTube in a natural language perspective? How to tie a bow tie, how to tie a Windsor knot, how to tie a half Windsor knot. Those are things that someone's going to type into YouTube to be able to see as a tutorial. They're probably not going to type in something that is more formal phrases, that formal titles of things, as opposed to just something that's more phrased. Then in the video description itself, that's where you can actually provide a little bit more context, and you can write a paragraph or two about that video, and it includes hashtags and links. So I really believe that you should be making sure that if you're going to use YouTube as a vehicle for SEO, you need to be putting links into the video description that link back to your website to be able to give it more oomph, right? You have to give it a little bit of energy there. So make sure that you are linking back to content from YouTube to your website, even for the videos that you're going to embed on your website. You want those reciprocal links back and forth to be referring people from YouTube to your website and vice versa, so that you're capable of making sure that people are aware that this video that you created actually has a web page associated with that, and leading people to that. You will see that if you hashtag, that is, put a little number sign and then a key phrase in any of the description of a video, YouTube will surface some of those hashtags and put them either right above, I think it's right above the video titles, and you can see those hashtags. That helps discoverability on the YouTube platform, so that other folks can find it and lead them to your video. You want to also make sure that you use the tags functionality when you upload a video. Inside the tags are your way of putting those keywords or key phrases into the algorithm to let YouTube know what that content is about. So if you're talking about small business, you want to tag that video with small business. If you're talking about technology, you want to tag that video about technology, and so on and so forth, so that people are able to find things through those searches that they're doing on the network. So those are the primary ways. But again, if you're really involved in search engine optimization on YouTube, every field that YouTube has matters in some way, shape, or form, right? If your content is not for kids, then you check that box and say it's not for kids. If your content was recorded yesterday, then put in that field that says it was recorded today or yesterday. If you have a search engine, an SRT file for closed captioning, make sure that you're uploading it. You need to pay attention to these details. The richness of your metadata that you upload into YouTube is going to, in a lot of ways, help you surface in that type of search engine. And then, of course, because YouTube is owned by Google, a lot of that actually pays its way forward into Google search as well. But not more important than when you embed it on an actual web page, and that video that's well optimized is paired with a web page on your website that is well optimized, right? So we have to do that on-page SEO and connect it to a good video to make that pairing for the search engine to really surface a video well for visitors to your website.
Okay, terrific. Well, look, I think that's a terrific overview of the usefulness of video content, how to create it, where to host it, why you would host it on one platform over the other, and how to optimize it at the end of it. I don't have any further questions, but Barry, I don't know if you have some before we close.
No, I don't. I don't have any. When you were talking earlier about making videos, Doug, have you had any experience with the Microsoft Movie Maker?
No, I haven't used that. We use predominantly Loom, but we also do use video recording on Zoom and on Teams, and they would be our three main ones.
Okay, well, Microsoft has a built-in video editor called Microsoft Movie Maker, I think it is, and that program allows you not only to edit your videos, it also has a screen recording function, and you can record straight onto your camera. straight off your camera. So that program is and I don't use it particularly, but for somebody that needs to edit video and doesn't want to go down the Premiere Pro route or something like that, for a simple editor that can also do some recording for you, Microsoft Movie Maker is a good simple program to start.
Yeah, so if just want to make sure people are aware. So Movie Maker was deprecated. So Microsoft discontinued it. I think it's still available for download, but just know that it is eventually going to go away.
Oh, is it?
Microsoft. Yeah, at some point. I mean, I was actually, while you were talking, I was like, let me go see if it's still available here in the Microsoft Store. I'm not sure whether this is Microsoft's doing, so not sure about that, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like a V3T Apps has created it, so I think it's probably just a clone. But Microsoft has replaced that with a tool called Microsoft Video Editor. So if you're on the Windows 10 platform now, you have Microsoft Video Editor. It is a much, much more simplified version of Movie Maker. So it is no Premiere Pro. It is not at all. It's not Camtasia. It's not any of those tools. But if you're just trying to chop a video up, for example, Video Editor does not know how to do transitions. So oddly enough, you cannot do transitions in Video Editor, but you can you could chop pieces out of the video and you can shrink it. I actually used it the other day because I had to just do a quick and dirty chop of a video and send it to somebody for raw, but I want to just cut the ends off of it. So it works and it's very quick. On a full-sized desktop system. If you just wanted to very quickly chop a video, I've just noticed that my MacBook is aging. And iMovie on the MacBook Air that I own is, you do any level of, you chop just the beginning and end off a video and add a beginning transition, and you're talking a 3 to 4 hour affair to do all of the work and render. It's just too much. So Video Editor just gives you the ability to do that kind of rough editing. I presume that Microsoft will beef up Video Editor as it starts to mature. I wouldn't be surprised if Adobe didn't pay Microsoft to handicap Video Editor for some number of years so that they could make a little bit more money. I don't know. I'm just it's completely conjecture, but I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, so Video Editor does exist. I think Movie Maker has unfortunately met its demise.
Right. Okay, that's terrific. Doug Endersby and Ray Sidney Smith, thank you for your input today, and we will see you again next week.
Good day. Thanks, Barry.
You have been watching Switched on IT. This is the show where we talk about everything IT. If you have any questions that you would like to ask Doug or Ray, or anything that you'd like them to clarify, be sure to send us an email. The address is feedback@ptvchannelo.com. Don't forget that all of the past sessions of Switched on IT can be found in our video on demand section. You can go back and you can look at anything over the last couple of years. We'll be back again next week with another session of Switched on IT. Until then, take care. We'll see you next week.